Alright, folks, it is time for the second round here in the ARC GT3 Championship Challenge. Wrong word. Wrong noise. Round 2 brings us to North America, starting with Laguna Seca for the Monterey GT Grand Prix. A bit of a condensed field, I would say, tonight. It is almost bizarre to me just how much the core sort of driver base of the series has changed, and by that I mean... By changed, I mean seemingly disappeared overnight. But we do have, like, kind of the heavy hitters from last week, for the most part. You know, the T44 drivers, Dylan and Hannick. Francisco Alonso, who had a fast qualifying time, and then Logan and Ridwan are two sort of, not really backmark. Well, Ridwan's only a backmarker, but he's the one rookie, pretty much, in GT3 here, and then Logan is Logan. That is a darn good question, Aiden. I wish I knew the answer. I wish anybody knew the answer. But Francisco Alonso will take us onto the start finish straight. He'll begin the first time lap of the session as he heads down towards Andretti Hairpin in that 488. Very much confusing, the sequential gearbox there. Or sequential. Is it? Yeah, no, that's correct. I know cars, sometimes. Out of the first sector of the racetrack is Alonso towards the, I thought this corner had a name. I don't know what it is, if there is one. I basically only know Andretti Hairpin and the corkscrew, and I think this is, or at least used to be called, Rahal Straight, if it isn't called that now. I don't know. And the ever famous, you know, the infamous corkscrew that can really mess with certain cars, but is trivial for others. The 488 is usually fine if you can get it stopped in time. And into the last turn of the circuit. Decent banker time it should be, at least. Kept it in between the white lines. A 24.3. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt the corkscrew can be difficult. You know, it has its moments, but also I just kind of personally feel, as somebody who's driven on this track dozens of times, as Dylan runs a 22.7, yeah, just a 22.7. I don't know why I'm trying to put extra digits there. As somebody who's run here many times in several different kinds of cars, I find the corners before and after the corkscrew to be more difficult than it. You have the kink, which is a blind apex, and then you got the left-hander after it, where some cars bottom out, understeer, other cars lose control at the high speed and the bizarre shape and camber of the turn. And if you misjudge your steering, you end up bouncing off the sausage curve on the inside and getting sent halfway to Mars. Nickel just over a tenth behind Dylan Bam, a 22.85. Ridwan with a 24.85, so just a second off of AJ, destroying the... yeah? Okay, that is not me. Yeah, sure is. Oh, please don't do that in the race. Yes, that was Mr. Australian. And his car, I think his router is 6 feet down under, the way that looks. It's kind of stable on straightaways, But the second the game has to process the car turning at all, it doesn't know what to do. It kind of looks like GT7, ironically. Yeah, I know, I've had to be behind years in GT7 a handful of times. It is difficult. But Red 1's not usually that bad, which is kind of why it threw me off so much. And usually lag doesn't show up too much in spectator cameras, because it's getting it on like a couple seconds worth of delay. So it's able to actually thoroughly process. So that means that Red 1's lag is so bad that it's actually more behind where he is than the spectator screen is behind what the players are doing, which is frankly terrifying. We're currently on board with Logan Cools. He gets demoted to last. He has a 27.3, which, based on what I was told by him earlier, is kind of about what he expected. You know, he's certainly one of those, you know, here for the experience, not here for the victory, and he's also here for the sand. Matthew Daly is certainly going to want a better time than a 25.3. I mean, he'll get a better time, but about a better position, 25 flat at the moment. Hannick with a 24.4, so ignoring Logan, the whole field's within 2.5 seconds. What was that line? Connor, please, I know that you are the reigning ARC Rally champion, but this is not that. You're in a McLaren right now. McLaren does not make rally cars. And now Red 1 has claimed a grid place penalty as AJ Knickel grabs a pull time with a 22 flat. Duh! Red 1 nearly spears into the side of AJ after having, I think he actually missed the braking to exit the pits. That wasn't even lag, that was just missing that. Honestly, the turn to exit the pits is the third most difficult corner on this track. I would honestly say that's more difficult than the corkscrew. And then this corner here and the corkscrew are about even. The rest of the corners, to me, are practically just not really that much of a problem. Andretti hairpin's fine, turn 2 is usually fine, this corner is usually fine, and then the last two corners are, you know, not really that big of an issue. But the kink is terrible, downhill left after the corkscrew is irritating, and turn 3 and the corkscrew itself can certainly be full of surprises. And by surprises, I generally mean understeer more often than oversteer, at least for me. Red 1 having no such issues, does clip a cone. Honestly, I don't know how his car made contact with that cone. Stays on the road, on the exit. And then the last turn, see if you can try to get onto third place. I don't really know if the front row is really in reach. He will be just short of third place. It's 400ths. But he is, I believe, out of fuel. If I'm reading that number right. I'm reading that number right. Alright, see you later. Dylan not offering any competition to that 22 flat, so admittedly anything AJ manages here is pretty much just to show off. Which, gee whiz. Not a good lap, clearly. 9 seconds off pace. Francisco Alonso, several tenths up. He's going to need to find even more than that to get anywhere near the top 2. He and Matthew Daly are the last cars on the track. Matthew got his lap started within the final few seconds of the session. And Francisco Alonso heads out of the final turn. Not the smoothest exit I've ever seen, but a 23.4, which is an improvement for sure, but that just puts him right in no man's land, right in between the lap times of Dylan and of Connor. But Matthew Daly, who ended up losing one race last week to a in-game track limit penalty at the last corner, and then lost second place to a post-race penalty applied by the stewards for his contact with Logan on one of the restarts, knocked him out of second, down to third. He's not going to be wanting to start in P6. He'll be starting P5 because of Red 1's, grid penalty, but considering the performance Team 44 put on last week, I expect to see a little bit better than that from Matthew here as he crosses the start-finish. And he certainly got a little better than that. I think he actually got up to third or fourth. Yeah, soundly in third, just off Dylan Bam, 22.9. So Red 1 will be dropped to last as a result of that. Logan did jump to a 25.7, which therefore means that the whole field is within 3 seconds of pole. Sure, this isn't the longest track ever. It may very well be the shortest on the calendar, but that's not terrible compared to what I've seen in my time commentating this league and others. Oh, hi, DIVEBOMB AutoRacingConnected. Thank you for commenting on the DIVEBOMB AutoRacingConnected live stream. I assume that's you, Luke. You might want to get off of that account. And believe me, as somebody who once accidentally posted one of their videos onto the ARC channel, I don't hate it on PSN, I just hate that when I sometimes forget to sign out of the ARC account. One of these days I'm going to end up accidentally posting another video onto it because I forget that I'm on there. To avoid that, I've started signing out of the ARC page immediately after the stream ends. And so the formation lap gets away. I've been invited to... So why was I invited to that? That's not what I'm usually getting invited to at this time. Usually there's an F1 league running that I used to be a part of that runs at the same time. Anyway, the formation lap goes after, well, a qualifying session, I guess. 7 cars, it's hard to make that seem super interesting. Especially when AJ set what would be the pole time with like 4 minutes to go in the session and never even got remotely challenged. Which leaves AJ on the pole, followed by Dylan Bam, Matthew Daly, Francisco Alonso, Connor Hannock, Logan Cool, and Ridwan Hamza following his penalty. Looking at tracks like Laguna Seca, it's surprising to me that AJ found a pole time, considering this honestly seems like it'd perfectly suit cars like the Ferrari and the McLaren. And yet, Connor qualified worse here, I believe, than he did at Dubai. This is a low-power circuit. You don't need a ton of horsepower, and yet the straight-line demon that is the AMG, and the straight-line, half demon that is the Lamborghini Huracan are sitting on the front row. So, go figure, right? As the field doubles up, we head towards the final turn to take the green flag whenever AJ feels like taking it. And we are green from Laguna Seca, and what a launch for AJ Knickel, who absolutely caught Dylan asleep at the wheel. The other Team 44 driver is going to get alongside the Huracan, and he'll have the better lane, which means that that pass is official. So it is once again starting, I just saw Connor Hannock spin back there, or maybe was driven into, I'm not sure from this camera angle. But Team 44 picking up pretty much exactly where they left off from Dubai. Connor, I couldn't really see what happened to him. I just saw a pair of headlights suddenly spearing towards an outside wall. I don't know if contact put him there or if he just had a huge tank slapper. Red One had a peek down the inside of Logan Poole at the corkscrew, but found nothing. Too wide between the two 44R teammates. We really are continuing where we picked up. What? No, picking up where we left off from Dubai, with the two teammates squabbling for the race lead at the early going. And Dylan Bam sitting behind the pair of them, probably licking his chops right now. He's actually going to get a chance at the team's second driver. He might, if he dares. Matthew slides to the racing line, and he misses Andretti. And Dylan will insert the Lamborghini right there, and through he goes back to P2. I think Matthew wanted to arc it in late, pun not intended, to Andretti to get the run off, but then there was suddenly a Huracan there, and he could no longer do that. That's not the car I wanted to look at. Thought about another try, but he doesn't have enough momentum for that. Battle for 6th place. I don't really know what happened to Ridwan that put him here. That or Connor Hannock got back up to speed, possibly. More than likely, actually. Probably stuck behind Logan Poole for the better part of the last lap. Meanwhile, Francisco Alonso around on the exit of the kink. That'll demote him to last, and it looks like he's got some meaningful damage to that car. Since apparently even the sprint round is a night race. I mean, this is more of a sunset race, but with how much cloud coverage there is, it's essentially a night race. I'm going to bore with Logan Poole as he attempts to play that delicate balance between chasing first and holding second. Actually, we will not do that because I think, we're about to see Ridwan go after the McLaren again of Logan. After Connor Hannock, I think, spun in the final turn. Logan, I know from personal experience, probably the hardest driver to pass, just because he's a little erratic. Okay, we're no longer watching this battle. Ridwan is getting Australia'd once again. Oh, excuse me, could not get the button time for that. Oh, playing risky with the outside curb there. Yeah, I think Hannock used up all of his good luck and everything else to get a double podium out of Dubai, and now karma and everything else has caught up to him and promptly smacked him in the forehead. He's back up to Francisco Alonso to try and get back to 6th place. That'll be made considerably easier when the latter just runs off the circuit. And so there goes Connor. Meanwhile, Ridwan at some point got by Logan Poole. You must have that poor spec for top speed. 150 into turn 1 is obscene in a GT3 car. That's what I'd expect to maybe reach in like an LMP2 or 3. Not this. Either that or I just suck. That's also very possible, and it is normal for GT3 cars to do that. I would not know, because I usually can't get over 144 at the breaking point. still pretty tentative up here. Oh, there go the cones. It was only a matter of time with those. Their life expectancy is not great around here. Logan will allow his teammate to go through into 5th place, as he but everybody else knows that Connor Hannick has the speed to get further. Alonso down the inside of the 59, taking advantage of Logan laying over for Hannick. And an unexpected 48 car with a single headlight just basically pulled the blind attack. Oh, Dylan doing Dylan Bam things, spinning out on the penultimate turn. Now let's be mindful of hot tires as Red One sits not too far away. And he may find himself on the podium if Dylan Bam does that again. Logan Cool still kind of hanging with Alonso. Mind you, they've only taken about 3 corners since he overtook him, but still. They're not really as close together as the interval would make it seem. I'm gonna be the first to tell you. That is more than 5.5 tenths apart. That's like 9 tenths apart. Almost a second. Oh, but Alonso's super loose. Oh, but Dylan Bam is super in the wall. That is heavy damage to that Huracan. I almost didn't even catch that, and I think the fact that he did spin was why I saw Logan letting off there, because he didn't... He probably was closer to that crash, but because the camera wasn't looking that way, I had no idea it was even happening. So Dylan Bam, he also continues where he left off from Dubai, in the nearest retaining wall because his car loses control. You know, he spent most of the pre-race conversation saying he tuned the oversteer out of his Huracan, and that's why he picked it again. I'm going to be the first to tell you that it doesn't look like it. I think he was our only DNF in Dubai in either round, and it looks like he might just DNF again, with the kind of damage he's got on that thing. As we have recently passed the halfway mark of the sprint race. AJ has had a comfortable ride, as, again, like he did in Dubai for the most part, but small question mark of tires, because he did say that that was something that ran out at Dubai, even in the sprint round. Yeah, take a drink every time I've said Dubai in this live stream thus far. My God. I feel like I've talked about the last track more than I have the current one. Well, Connor Hannick is getting close to within striking distance on Ridwan. Looks like the two non-North American drivers of the field may soon be doing battle for the podium position. If Connor Hannick can get up there within the next 4 laps, which it seems like he should be able to based on, you know, current trends, especially when I think Ridwan just got a little bit of curb there on the exit of the third to last turn. I hate that curb. There's also pretty big damage to that Porsche. He clearly hit something earlier, and I was not aware of that until just now, really. Just hope that when Hannick tries to go for a move, if he gets close enough, which, I mean, look at it, yeah, he's gonna. I just hope for his sake and everyone else's that Red One's Wi-Fi allows for that. Connor Hannick knows too. He wasn't even following him. He wasn't slipstreaming him or anything, because he knew that if Ridwan suddenly had a surge and tripped backwards, that he would be right in the danger zone. Although that said, he's not doing that now, so I guess he must be putting some sort of faith in it. Almost bumper to bumper heading down the hill. Red One got a crucially good exit out of the final turn, though. Despite appearances, it looked like he missed it, but he apparently did it just fine. I guess that's the depth perception of the trackside cameras messing me up once again. My mom sneezes at the prospect of trackside cameras, apparently. Oh, they're literally bumper to bumper. Oh, literally bumper to bumper now. Bit of sand kicked up. I think somebody tried to take a bit too wide of the line there. Maybe it was Red One that put his tire there. Didn't seem to do a whole lot, but now I think it's time. Red One makes a defensive move, and Connor Hannick was never going to get around the outside there. This corner is not at all conducive to that. At this point, I think he's just trying to apply pressure and make Red One mess himself up, which is exactly what's happened. Now we might be too wide at the corkscrew instead. Hannick braking late, finding some sand, and that was certainly the overtake of all time. I don't really know what that was. I think Red One wanted to cross him over, but because Hannick was just kind of parked on the exit trying to get his car to get under control, there was never a chance of doing that. So Red One on to the podium after a horrible start. And now he's just crossed 2 laps to go, so he doesn't have to stay there for too long to be credited with that 3rd place. It seems AJ, Matthew, Connor is going to be the podium trio. You know, just like the Ham Verboten of F1 days past. Now it's Kine Daihan. Daihan sounds like it'd be a Japanese name. And immediately you can see Hannick has opened up quite a bit of a gap on Red One. Almost a second clear. Actually, might be more than that. Oh yeah, he's much more than that now. Even with a scruffy exit on the kink, he is still getting away. As AJ Knickel takes us across for the final lap of the race. The sprint race, at least. Now, because there are not even 8 not even 8 drivers on the grid, the whole grid will be flipped over when we go into the feature race, which would put Dylan on the pole alongside his former teammate Logan Cool. Now, the game, I think, got confused after the braking zone. I don't think Red One is going to be close enough to Connor to do anything here. Up, down through the corkscrew, up and down and all around. Side to side like a roller coaster. Something like that. I don't remember if that's the exact quote. And I guess, yeah, chuck up another one to our benevolent overlord. AJ Knickel will make it a 3rd victory in a row to start the GT3 season. And it'll be a 3rd 1-2 on track finish for 44R on the season already. Matthew Daly comes in about 6 seconds later. And although he has a track penalty, it doesn't matter. It's only 2 seconds. And Hannick will steal 3rd within the last couple of laps from Red One, and he'll put himself back on the podium again. Red One 4th, Francisco Alonso a pretty distant 5th. And what is going on here? Dylan is doing some renovation. He's finding himself. He's escaped the trackside camera's view. Do we seriously have a race for 6th? What is going on here? Oh, I know your game, Logan. Is that allowed? Oh, apparently Red One had some major time penalties because Alonso's put fourth on track, but I don't think... I wouldn't really put a whole lot of stock in that. We'll have to wait and see based on the starting grid for the feature what the decision is on that. So I don't know what's wrong with Dylan's car. I think I know what's wrong with Dylan's car. Yeah, Red One picked up a 25-second penalty. I don't know how you do that. Did he jump the? You couldn't jump the start. That's just not even possible. Because we had a formation lap and everything. I don't know where he got that from, unless he couldn't have had a pit lane violation. He didn't pit. I have no idea where he got that. And then, whatever in the name of Michael Schumacher, Dylan and Logan were just doing. I'm unsure. I really... I'm gonna have to ask about that. I'm gonna have to try and get somebody's opinion on that a little later. Anyway, intermission time. Not hearing much from the Discord, which is interesting. I figured you didn't make an explanation or something. Because usually there's somebody listening to the stream to ask questions on my behalf or something. So we're going right into the feature. Well, you know, after the strategy screen and whatnot. So 18 laps, I believe that'll be. Okay, so apparently Dylan's car does just handle that badly. I thought we were literally looking at like an actual battle for a battle of mid of two people trying to finish last, but no, Dylan just could not get his car to stay on the road. And Logan was more than happy to sit behind him and wait, because it means that he would get the reverse grid pole. So ignore these lights, they mean nothing. And now we're gonna Logan, well, he got his wish. He got the reverse pole. And also, as I suspected, Red One's 25-second penalty is boosh, so he will be credited with 4th retroactively. Did not mean to press that button. I pressed the PlayStation button, trying to unmute my mic. So yeah, that puts us with the reverse. You know, the flipped. The things have flipped. Yep. Yeah, now we reverse the finishing order. So now that I remember how to construct a sentence in the English language, Logan Cool will be our pole sitter again. Followed by Dylan Bam, Francisco Alonso, Red One Hamza, Connor Hannock, Matthew Daly, and AJ Knickel to round out the grid. I don't particularly think it'll take too long for that to get flipped back to the status quo. It really doesn't usually when there's only 7 cars on the track. Edge only has to make 6 passes to get back to where he was. And considering the lack of, like, control that Dylan and Alonso have had thus far, that'll only make things easier for the back 3 to get up to where they belong. I know where they belong sounds awfully, you know, bold to say, like, oh, they belong on the top 3. I've yet to see anything that proves that statement otherwise so far, except for Red One's possible mistake in turn 1 at the start of the sprint. But there's no real guarantee if that was his own error or somebody else's. I couldn't tell. The camera was not really looking at him, it was looking at the 2 leaders. So whenever Logan floors the gas pedal, the feature race is green. And it really threw off the 2 at the back with how long Logan held that. He basically waited right till the start-finish line to go. Dylan has assassinated a braking board, I should say. And Francisco Alonso gets the whole shot. He'll be in the lead at the exit of Andretti Hairpin. And a big start for AJ Knickel already into 3rd. So he and Hannock pretty much exactly where they were before. And it's only, yeah, it's 2, 3, 4 for the drivers that got the podium. So right back to the status quo pretty much for them. The only difference is that Dylan Bam fell even further and Logan has already fallen to... What is... Did you put all-terrain tires on, my dude? I'm sure the car doesn't handle great, but... My God! If I'm Dylan, I'm seriously considering switching to something a little more stable soon. He doesn't have any points to lose if he changes. A little bit of contact made at the corkscrew. Think a bit of lag was in play there. I'm not certain. Only they themselves know. I don't. Little tap from Matthew Daly. I forgot his name for a second. My brain just almost autopiloted to calling him. What was I? I don't even know what I was about to call him. My brain just did not know a name to associate with that car. It just turned off. I'm about to call him the Mercedes driver, do it F122 style, or F123, they both do that. Or do like the thing the old NASCAR games do when they put fantasy drivers on the track, they don't know their names, so you just call it contact with the 123 car. And well, everybody's staying pretty close together. Matthew Daly right up to the back of Hannick to try and, you know, go ahead of him. Despite finishing 2-3 in some exchangeable order in every race so far, I think this might be the first time we've really seen them jockeying for position between each other so far. But that is a big run out of the final turn for Hannick. That's going to get him pretty much to safety for the time being. Unsurprisingly, DIVEBOMB already in the pits. And also, not to mention, I think too early for the mandatory to count, because he's only run 2 green laps. It's the end of this lap where they count. So, unless he got major damage that I didn't see, you should have just at least waited 1 more lap to do that. But here we are. Not the run that Hannick was looking for out of there. He's going to take a defensive line into the kink of all places. That's some Gran Turismo 7 AI type maneuvering there, and that's going to obviously hurt him heading towards the corkscrew. He will just barely survive the Mercedes-Benz onslaught, for the time being anyway. Oh, that's maybe not last forever though. A bit of understeer for good measure. That was dangerous territory for the McLaren to be playing in. But here's the corner we saw him do really well at on the previous lap. Let's see if he can repeat that somehow. The McLaren just has the advantage at low-speed turns. And it makes sense. It is a lighter car and it's mid-engine compared to front engine, so it being able to put a gap on the Merc with a good exit from there does not surprise me in the least. Meanwhile, AJ Knickel is within a half a second or so. Kind of varies heavily at the moment. Oh, now he's getting closer. Yep, 3.5 tenths. Still not striking distance, unless you're a complete maniac or it's onto turn 1. But Francisco Alonso will be feeling his highlighter yellow presence. And Matthew Daly is going to be feeling the sand in his shoes later as he goes off at a corner I really don't think of people going off the track at. All squares through the kink. Nothing doing at the corkscrew between the 2 leaders. Francisco, you're going to have to hang on for a while there, pal. You got 14 to go there or thereabouts. Strap in for overtime or like oversteer. He did not hang on, as a matter of fact. He will vacate the racing surface to catch his car, and so AJ gets back to the race lead without even having to make a pass to get it. That's not the most AJ thing I've seen. It's not to say that AJ gets handed wins. It just kind of seems pretty common that drivers get run in front of AJ and they just like freak out. They just get out of their own minds and they're like, oh god, there's a car behind me, and for some reason AJ just has a completely different presence to anybody else. The guy with more arc wins than I do dollars in my bank account is behind me. What do? Do I even have a bank account? Anyway, and the battle for third place begins. I feel like I've seen this, except now it's Connor in second and Matthew in fourth, trying to overtake that blue Porsche. I just spit everywhere saying the name Porsche. Whoops. Red One dives into the pit lane early. So he's going to be the first to actually make his mandatory pit stop, and that'll put him, well, basically way out of the way of everybody else for the time being, but that's not always a bad thing, especially if it means clean air. He wasn't really in dirty air before, per se, but he's going to be in all kinds of clean air going forward up until all of the pit stops cycle through. Oh, the interval was confused because of where Connor's car was. He spins heading through turn 2 in pursuit of Matthew Daly, and that gives Francisco Alonso third place back. Actually, no, I'm dumb. Connor Hannock was never pursuing anything. He spun. That's why the intervals did that. I don't know what I'm talking about. Matthew was originally pursuing Connor, and then Connor spun, and then the pursuit was over. And now Connor Hannock is in pursuit of a 488 after having spun. Yeah. Previously on AutoRacingConnected, because I am an idiot and I'm not able to mentally keep track of what's going on in the race sometimes. I guess my brain has got so hardwired to, you know, the running order of AJ, Matthew, Connor, that my brain has automatically assumed that's what was going on before, when in reality it was not. Well, yes, it is true that Hannock and Alonso are maybe soon to be battling. They are also both catching Matthew Daly at a pretty solid pace at the moment. He's not going too fast. At least that's what it seems like. Maybe that's just an optical illusion because of the fact that I'm not really on board with either of the cars. As Hannock gets a little wide at the kink there, finds a bit more sand in his shoes, and seems to get a little squirrely on the way into the corkscrew, but gets the car to settle down on the way through. Seems he himself is now struggling with some handling, which is kind of rare for the McLaren. Usually the thing is pretty planted. But Matthew Daly is going to sort of undermine the possibility of just being caught on pace. He's going to pit, and that will leave Francisco Alonso with a concurrent P2, but still like a net P3. Hannock is just kind of holding station. I think it is kind of wise maybe at this point to just not really to do too much, especially considering the lack of stability that many cars have experienced today, including Hannock himself. Might be smart to just kind of sit and ride out the middle part of the race, get him later. AJ Kaneko brings himself into the pits, right just shy of the halfway mark of the race. Francisco Alonso will follow suit, which leaves Connor Hannock to lead a lap of racing here. and be in the concurrent lead, but really like net P4-5. And not be too far from lapping somebody, I think. Yeah, Logan Cool is just up the road. AJ Kaneko rejoins in a lonely second place. In a moment, he may very well be the only car in Sector 2 when he crosses into it. No, the leader's still in Sector 2, but only just. But now he is the only car in the middle sector right now. And Red One is right behind Matthew Daly. Did he pass him? I think he passed him out of the pits and I wasn't paying attention. Because I was looking at the other cars pitting. Bit of understeer, the AMG is good for that. I'll tell you that much. Somebody who's driven it in 2 different seasons in this very same championship. It do be a yacht. Right up until it isn't. Obviously, I know the amount of effort that 44R puts into their setups is going to alleviate that to some degree, but you'll never fully get the yachtness out of this car, no matter what you do. 23.4 race pace from Matthew Daly. That's the lap that a lot of drivers would have liked to have in qualifying. Or not a lot of drivers, but a couple of drivers would have loved to have that 23 in qualifying. That wasn't far off of what Matthew did do in qualifying, for that matter. And he's going faster still, so he might be the fastest car on the racetrack at the moment, but there are just too many open-ended variables at the moment, not the least of which is the fact that he's 11 seconds behind his teammate. As Hannock heads into the pit lane, leaving only Ridwan, as I believe the last driver did not make his pit stop yet. I think this timings can confirm this. It cannot. Great. Thinking of the final results screen that'll do that. So AJ Kaneko returns to the race lead, and he will have it by a massive margin as everything shuffles the rest of the way out. Passed by Matthew, passed by Ridwan, passed by Francisco Alonso. So Hannock back down to 5th, but with the freshest tires. So we'll see if he can get somewhere in the closing laps here. I'm trying to remember that myself. I don't remember if he did or not. I don't believe so. I'm literally racking my brain trying to remember if he has pit. Actually, yeah, no, he has. He was the first car to pit to make the mandatory. So, yeah, I know he has gone in. I think he went on lap 5. So I do believe, assuming that I'm not an idiot and my brain is rotting, which it very well might be, that the pit cycles have completely finished, and now we are just left with what remains of the running order to see if some nonsense can happen in the last few laps here, because, I mean, we still got 6 to go. 7, I can math. I forgot to carry the 1 despite subtracting 3 from 9. God, brain, come on. What is this, first grade? I really am getting some brain rot. Too much junk food. Definitely not the video games. I don't know what you're talking about, Mom. I'm not able to ascertain much from the lap times that are coming in. Everybody's pretty close-ish. Obviously, can't really say much for Connor, considering he just got through an outlap. At minute 30 is not what he actually ran, like, aggregately, just because he had to make the pit exit. Francisco Alonso, he is getting right up to Red One, though. He's found pace towards the end here, after leaving the pits himself. Still got to climb about a second to reach him, but also still has 6 laps to do that, so... But when he does get there, he needs to be quick about it, lest he give up too much time to the ever-present threat of that McLaren back there. Oh, that's not going to help. Bit of oversteer through turn 2. He does keep the car straight, though. Albeit barely. That mistake has put him closer to Hannick than it has put him to Ridwan. Not that much, but he's closer to him. This is really the only place worth looking on the track right now, since, yeah, the top 2 are really just kind of in their own little island. As we're looking down the hill right here, AJ is on his way in towards Andretti, and Matthew Daly just came out of the last corner. But these 3 are about to all be within a second of the next car in front of them each. And the way things are shaping up, we could be looking at a 3-car battle towards the very end here. Remains to be seen, obviously. Things could go wrong very quickly. Oh, I'm doing too much stretching, and Francisco Alonso's doing too much oversteer. Woo! Carter Hannick is lucky to not be caught up in that. Yeah, that's what I said. It can go wrong, and oh boy, did it for Francisco Alonso. Puts him back down in P5. That's Dylan getting out of the way. And that is Connor Hannick within, I believe, about a second and a half, if not less than that, of Ridwan. Oh yeah, that's not a second and a half, Riker. What are you looking at? That's like 8 tenths. I'm going bored with the McLaren driver as he attempts to run down Ridwan for his yet another podium spot and return us to the status quo for a 4th consecutive round. There's a part of me that hopes he doesn't do it just because I would like to interview somebody else. Connor is like single-handedly carrying the racing action of this season. Because the top 2 really have not done a whole lot of that. AJ had the path of minimal resistance from last to first at the start of this race. Matthew Daly just kind of made his way through the midfield just by not spinning the car out more than anything else. Connor Hannick is the one that's genuinely had to work for his podiums. Well, this corner must be a real pain now, since apparently somebody is taking to assassinating the braking boards out there. Back to trackside camera as Connor has run down that Porsche. Three laps and change remaining here from Monterey, Laguna Seca. And 3rd place is still up in the air. Whether it'll go to the Britishman or the Aussie there. The Britishman, the Englishman. Now, that is a decent point. I don't know what tire deg is like, but either way, it's still just a factual thing. Ridwan's tires are pretty old. He's been on them for nearly a dozen laps now, whereas Connor's been on his for less than half a dozen. The first driver to pit versus the last driver to pit. Oh, that is a very bad turn one for Ridwan. And Connor Hannock will take full advantage. He smells the weakness in your blood. And he is back into third place. Why did I say that? Got a little too into it there. See if the Porsche has any response. Anything at all for that McLaren. Or if he's just going to go silently. As we head towards 2 laps to go from Laguna Seca. Looks like it's going to be a silent death for the 14 car. Fuel might be interesting though. It doesn't look like Connor Hannock's got a lot left. For lots of the car behind him, he certainly has enough, but just 4 liters is really enough to make it across here? I don't know that it is. Is that an 8? That's an 8, okay. I was like, there's no way this man is less than a liter of fuel. No, that's an 8, so he's fine. AJ's fine, Ridwan's fine. He's definitely fine. Logan's definitely fine. Oh my god, Dylan is fine. So, yeah, it's just Connor. Connor is the only driver with a little bit of a fuel scare at the moment. 3.3 liters. That is a little sketchy. That's a bit of a sketchboard right there. But he ain't changing his driving either. He's gonna go full tilt. Maybe he knows something I don't. That's Logan. I was like, oh my god, who spun? It's just Logan waiting for cars. He's a lap down. He probably might have spun there. And this is like, well, I'm not even gonna bother rejoining the circuit. You know, apparently, I guess the McLaren is built different. It's built efficient. He might have just enough to cross. At the very least, if he pulls a banger lap out here, he can coast across and still be safely in third. He's still taking that in second and everything. It's either he doesn't know that his fuel is super low, although the light would absolutely be coming on by now. So he must just know that he's got it, and I'm just some silly moron because I don't see fuel lights. But what I do in fact see is AJ Knickel heading towards the final turn here at Laguna Seca. One more hairpin, and he's going to rev the engine out. Celebration, a 4th win to start off the season. This is looking more like a procession, a formality than a racing championship at the moment. And it is once more. Whoever's writing the script of this thing, can you like buzz off? This is terrible. I'm kidding. Matthew Daly, another 44R12, and with literally 0.1 liters of fuel left in the car, he ran out at the line. But Connor Hannock will make it. He will cross the line. He will get his 3rd place. And his AI will retire for him, but that doesn't matter because he got over the line anyway. I thought we turned manual cool on that off here. Ridwan 4th, again, Francisco Alonso P5, Logan Cool 6th, Dylan Bam with yet once more a week to forget, full of oversteer. And so now with that said and done, bring the podium finishers in again. I'm getting some deja vu here, guys. I really am.
Hi.
This is like Hamverbot all over again.
It's only the second race of the season.
It's the 4th, technically, and you've taken the podium in all 3. All 4. All 3 of you have taken the podium, all 4. Anyway, so, yeah, I guess we'll just kick things off with Connor Hannick. Double 3rd place result again. I remember I couldn't get a good look at it because the camera was focused on the 2 leaders. The slide you had at the first corner of the sprint, was that your error or was that contact there?
That's completely my error. I changed the traction control and made it a lot looser so I'd be quicker, but rejected that immediately as soon as I went.
I was like, as the camera was like, the car looked like it was just pushed sideways based on the angle I was seeing, so it was weird.
Yeah, it turned 90 left and I couldn't get it back.
Yeah, the broadcast cameras didn't reflect 90 left. It reflected sideways, like your car was just like moonwalking to the left.
I got very lucky. I only got one front end from that. I got away with it.
And yeah, you had recovery drives to make and I believe both the sprint and the feature. Obviously the sprint because of that spin.
And then there was contact from the team.
Oh yeah, I actually didn't know. I didn't really notice the contact. I know he kind of got out of the way for you and then promptly got sent by a Ferrari, but yeah, I know. Yeah, you had to make recoveries in both paths of the events. Was your strategy more like just kind of watch and stay on the road, or was the strategy to push to get ahead of him on pace?
Guess which show I'm watching.
But I had a nice battle with one, both in the sprint and feature.
Yeah, I made a joke about that deja vu too. I was like, I feel like I've been here before.
Chasing him down again, and I think I always took him in the same place again, to be honest. And Paco made a mistake again, spinning, just left the door open for me and really went to fight to the end.
He made a habit of that a little bit. Doesn't seem the Ferrari's treating him too well either, despite being usually a really stable car.
The dust here is really, really tricky. You get anything onto the dust on
The dust or the turtle curbs. Take your pick. Now look at P2 of Mr. Matthew Daly. Seemed like a pretty business as usual feature race for you, but the sprint was, from what I remember, not so easy. My brain's blanking on what put you back there, but I know you had to kind of make up positions somewhere along the way there.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I spaced out a lot of this race. I was commentating, I was seeing the battles, but for anything that wasn't named Ridwan, Connor, or Francisco, I was just kind of like, huh?
Understandable. I had in the sprint race it was good because we started up front. Although Dylan spun in front of me, so that helped a lot. I was looking forward to that battle with him. And then, yeah, I spun out. And then the feature race just had traffic to go. It was a little bit of a botch start. Almost rear-ended red one on the green because they weren't going when it was green already. And then just had to call my way back up. Hopefully the pitch strategy was going to help us, but it didn't much. So.
I noticed that on the start, both you and AJ were really eager, and I think got thrown off when Logan delayed the start a lot. By the look of it, by the looks of it.
I'm pretty sure he was past the line, and it still wasn't going.
He was.
And then I almost rear-ended, and then I know AJ was eager because we were trying to get up there because Dylan was starting second, so I had to get up there, but.
It probably didn't help the line isn't actually a visible object on the racing surface. The line is... I think the line is actually more defined by where a flag stand is or something, but there isn't a line on the track to my knowledge.
It's in the wrong spot is the problem. It should be under that bridge, but it's not. It's like probably like 15 feet before it.
Yeah, so I suppose Logan probably waited until that.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
And then, you already answered one question, so I might as well move on to your your race. I don't even know where to begin. You just Max Verstappen to this stuff, like.
It wasn't even that I drove away, it was that everybody else was just making mistakes, I think, because, like, I didn't feel, like, crazy quick. I wasn't pushing. Yeah, it was just
you didn't really drive away on pace. You drove away because you drove on the racing track.
Yeah, I only made the one track limit mistake in the sprint when I was in the lead just ahead of Matty there. I think it was lap 1. And I went off, and I was just like, wow, did I actually go off there? And then I went away as I came down through the corkscrew, so I was like, okay, I know what I can't do now. And then from there, it was pretty much smooth sailing. I didn't really have any issues at all. I had a really fun race, actually. It was, well, not fun, really clean race. Little boring. Good to learn about the car.
I think the biggest takeaway for this race for your team was probably setup data. Build the notebook, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean... You hit a certain point where you're like, okay, I'm 14 seconds ahead of first or ahead of second, and my teammates, 15, 10, 20 something up on third, And then you're like, okay, well, there's not really anything to fight for here, so let's just keep it together. Of course, if we had more cars in this series, it wouldn't be like that, but I'm hoping for in the next couple of weeks we can start building that back up again. I don't really know why we've fallen off a cliff here. I know this game's old, but we'll keep pushing until we can anymore.
It remains to be seen. I'm not personally holding my breath, but
I mean, if this ends up being the last Project Cars 2 season, we can enjoy it.
Or try, anyway. Die trying, by the looks of things. But, another race in the books. Our sponsors are worth mentioning once more for their dedication to the ARC presentations. That's the word. Starting with our title sponsor, DIVEBOMB, a collaborative new media project made by motorsports fans for motorsports fans. SLP, or SimMakePro.com, the official thing. ARC's partner in league management, helps us organize the league and helps drivers find the league and whatever other league they want to find on whatever game or platform. To a SimWrap Market, iRacing's marketplace for livery design templates, along with number sets and everything else you need to make a design for a sim racing machine. To IMB Racewear, our sim racing apparel sponsor. They make gloves and boots for sim racing. I always forget you'd need those because you race with a wheel, but I don't do that. I was super confused when we had that sponsor, I'm not going to lie. And I remembered, oh yeah. Oh my god. To the Racing Rats, our Assetto Corsa mod partners, they put out free mods of high quality, and they work closely with us to host our Assetto Corsa leagues. And then lastly, both to AJ Nickel Design and James McAdam Photography for our graphic design and photography partners. They make all the social media posts work possible, etc. But from the green flag to the final lap, thank you for joining us on today's ARC broadcast. Next, I believe, is Road America, because I actually remember the schedule for once.